Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to www.kickinthecreatives.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome to today's episode, and today we're going to talk about the benefits of starting your art journey later in life. But before we get onto that, we want to say a big thank you to our latest Ko-fi supporters. And actually, we've got quite a long list here because we've been doing a few interviews recently. So I think, how many? Is it about 3 in a row? So we're kind of like reading out 3 episodes worth. But we've got Katie and Gabriella and Peter. Peter says cheese, but I think he must mean cheers. Cheryl Oz, she says, I haven't felt like I was part of an art community like this since art school 23 years ago. Thank you both for inspiring and thought-provoking topics. You both feel like old friends, and I just love listening. Less of the old though, please. Art by Jackie P. Rick Favor, he says, you ladies are the highlight to my workday. I've been enjoying listening while I work. Alexi Craft, thank you for spreading creativity. And Jane Parker, thanks for helping to inspire and motivate me.
And I've also got Joanna Brown. Thank you, Joanna. Eve Bluefoot, thank you so much for your support, she says. Eve Falkwall Simpson, she says, thank you for your fantastic Facebook group and for all your encouragement on our creative journeys. I've got Dare, and he says, thanks for the kicks and giggles. Marsha Furman, Valeria, Karen Taylor, she says, thank you for all you do in the creative community. And we really do appreciate that support you give us. Not only does it help us cover the running costs of Kicking the Creatives, which, you know, does cost for our hosting and things like that, but it also shows that you like what we do. So thank you very much. And also, actually, just while we're there, I've got a podcast review. We will get onto the actual topic soon. So the podcast review...
Since when have we ever got onto a topic soon?
No, okay. I've got one here, and this is from The Floating Artist, and it's via Apple Podcasts Canada. And it says, fun, informative. And it's a 5-star. It says, inspirational and very entertaining. I love the art tips, interviews, and Sandra's and Tara's banter. Warning, listening in public may lead to bouts of giggling out loud on the bus. They're unpretentious and a little bit cheeky. Well worth a listen, whether you want to develop a creative habit or an experienced creative.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
We love the reviews, don't we? It's really nice. Do you know what? You know, sometimes I think you've said to me in the past, haven't you? You've printed things like that out, haven't you? And
Yeah, they're all on my notice board in front of me.
Yeah, I need to do that, I think.
You do, and then when you're feeling a little bit bleh, you just look up and think, oh, somebody likes me.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Anyway, we also want to say thank you to everyone who's been sharing their work with us on social media. So I have been loving the work of Sophie Knight. She did the Miniature May Challenge, and I know that's not this month, but we haven't had a chance to talk about May, have we? Because we've been doing the interviews. So obviously I'm sort of going back a bit, but I really loved her stuff. She did loads of tiny little acrylic paintings on mini canvases. I think they were something like 6.5 centimetres square or something like that, and they were all really good. I don't think there was one subject she didn't cover. Did you see those?
Yeah, and she was doing little time lapses. Did you say that?
I saw some of them. They were so good.
Yeah.
So good. She did I think one of them was like a little red telephone box or something like that, and then she did some marbles, which obviously I'm going to love because I love painting marbles myself, and it's just like all sorts of different things. One was a close-up of some newspapers, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed those. But on to June though, Andy W. Art, he's been doing the Quick Kick June challenge, which is drawing a cartoon every day. And they've been really, really good, worthy of any newspaper cartoon column, I think. And they've been referencing the pandemic, well, at least the ones I've seen have been, but in a really kind of amusing way, if that's possible. So, Andy, I think you could submit your cartoons to a newspaper actually, because you never know.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. I really do think they are that good. Also, Melissa Starkweather, she's also been doing the Quick Kick June, and she's been doing some really fun and quirky faces, which I've really enjoyed. And also Roving J, she's been doing some really amusing cartoons for the Quick Kick June challenge as well. It's been a real popular challenge, hasn't it, this month? And she's given her Lammy pens a little personality, all of their own. So what she's been doing, she's been drawing them in all sorts of amusing scenarios. Yeah, they've been really, really good fun. Have you seen those?
I've been slightly absent, as you know, for the last week or so, so I think I've missed a lot of those.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. But have you finished with yours?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to mention stuff in the group. I thought this time I wanted to talk about the Facetastic Fridays. Because if you haven't heard, we've got this challenge that we do now every Friday on Instagram called Facetastic Friday. And all we do is post up a picture of a different face each week and ask you to draw it or paint it, or you can make something in clay or whatever you like. But what is great is seeing the same face come back created so many different ways, and I'm just loving seeing all the different interpretations, from like really realistic to cartoony to kind of crazy mixed media type stuff. And I've really liked some, especially by Michael Beckett. He's been doing some fantastic ones, and I'm absolutely loving the double page spreads by KD. I always love KD's spreads anyway. She makes these beautiful pages, so not only are the drawings really nice, but the actual way she lays them out is just fantastic, and she's been including some of the faces on those. So yeah, they are my favourite things, I think.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's been such a popular challenge from the offset, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's nice because it's one of those things where you haven't got this big commitment. It's just on a Friday, so, and then you have to do it before the next Wednesday, although we have let people off when they've done it late. So yeah, so it's definitely worth have a little go on that one. Okay, so what is new with you?
Well, I finished my latest painting, which I've been talking about for so long. The one of 2 Coke bottles. So if you want to see that, it's on my Instagram page at sandra.busby, which I named Pop Art. And in fact, it's actually being collected today. I wrapped it yesterday. And it's always the weirdest feeling when you wrap a piece of art that you've been working on for so long, because you know that you're probably never going to see that painting again in the flesh. You're only ever going to see the photographs of it, but luckily I do have a professional photograph of it now, so in time I'll get some limited edition prints done. But it's always nice to know I've got a really good photo of something before I let it go. But yeah, it's real it's just been this big blast of colour in my studio for so long, and it looks empty now because it's just in a box waiting for the shipping company to come and collect it today.
Oh, I was wondering if they're going to pick it up themselves, but they're not. It's not someone local.
Actually, no. This person is in Wales, and
right.
Generally speaking, my work tends to go to America nearly all the time, or Canada, or Europe. So it's just like I was beginning to think, oh, no one in the UK likes my stuff.
But I think it's good because you can call yourself international.
Yeah, an international artist. Yes, yeah. So yeah, it's bittersweet because it's a painting I really actually, well, I really liked it, and I thought, oh, I'll be sad to see that one go. But anyway, it's great. It's great that it's going to someone who's been so excited. I mean, I've been getting messages left, right and centre saying, can I have some progress pictures? So they've been really excited to have it, and that's always really nice to know. So yeah, it's nice. But
can I just pick your brains on this one?
Oh, right, you can have a go. It is, what time is it? 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Now this is something that's nothing to do with the podcast, and I'm going a bit off track, but there we go. So already. I know that you get these pictures photographed to make a limited edition print out of.
Yeah.
But you sign it afterwards, don't you?
Yeah, so I'll get the photograph taken before I sign the painting, yeah. I
Right.
mean, it's not the end of the world because they can Photoshop it out, but if you're signing over any kind of detailed area, that's harder for them. So it's always better to do that. And also, if you are a painter, if you do want to get photographs taken, don't ever varnish it before you get it photographed, because then that's really hard for them because they've got a glare. I mean, I don't varnish my paintings as a rule anyway, because I don't really need to on my paintings.
Really, what I meant was, do you do that so you can then sign limited editions?
Yes, well, no, I don't do that because of that. I just do that
Ah.
because it's easier for them to
Oh,
photograph it.
right.
But
That's why I thought it was. I thought you must leave it so you could hand sign the limited editions or something like
I
that.
do hand sign the limited editions, but
on the back.
No, I sign them. So when I have them printed out, they have like a border,
Right.
like a white border around the edge, and then the bottom border is slightly wider than the other, the rest, and then I sign under there.
Oh, okay.
And that's the bit I absolutely hate. I hate signing limited edition prints because it's like when you're writing,
Yeah.
it's absolutely fine. You just write, it comes completely naturally. But the second you know that you need to write something really neatly, or somebody's watching you over your shoulder and you've got to sign something really well.
Yeah, you're scared of mucking it up, aren't you?
You're scared of mucking it up. And the trouble is as well, when you sign on that paper, because it's kind of like it's an etching paper, it's got a very slight tooth. Not that you'd sort of see it, but it is there. So when you sign it, you can't rub it out. It's there forever, really.
Yeah.
So once you've signed it, you've signed it. So if you sign it and it goes wrong, you ruined a whole print.
Yeah.
So it's an expensive mistake. But
yes.
anyway, back to what I was going to say before you.
Yeah, sorry. I should.
That's all right. So yeah, well, you're going to need to know all this because you're getting prints done, aren't you, of yours? So
Yeah, but I just signed mine already and then I scanned them in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've obviously got to start a new series of paintings, and I've got a series in the pipeline because I told you this, didn't I, Tara?
Yeah, you did,
Weirdly,
yeah.
this is I don't quite know how this person got hold of me because, well, they contacted me actually through my website. So I got like somebody obviously filled out the contact form and said, we really like your paintings, your wine bottle paintings. So we were wondering if you'd be interested in doing an exhibition in our vineyard. They've got like a winery there and whatnot. And I was going to say my ears pricked up. I couldn't actually hear it, but my eyes pricked up. I was like, oh, that would be really interesting because, when you finish something, I mean, obviously you've always got your series on the go, but when I finish a painting, I always feel that little bit empty until I know what's coming next. And straight away I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to do some more wine bottles. So that would be a real good thing to get my teeth into. So so I thought, yeah, I'm going to get back to this person. Turns out that this vineyard is 10-minute drive from my house. It's really strange. And
Have
so
you been to have a look?
he basically said, come and meet me, have a little look around at the space, and we'll go from there. So I went down there, met him.
Oh, you've already been. You haven't told me this bit.
Oh, no, I thought I'd save something for the
Okay,
podcast.
okay.
Actually, it was only at the weekend. It was only just this weekend just gone that I went down. So it's kind of like he's got this like almost lodge thing where, you can hang your artwork. And he's sort of thinking of doing a wine/art exhibition. So it worked for the both of us, really. Wine and cheese and art all goes together. So, so that's exciting. But then he said, how soon can you do one? I was like,
my
well,
God.
I've only got one painting at the moment of wines because everything else is sort of sold. So I'm going to have to get a body of wine paintings together, I think. But that's great because I said to him, look, I'll try my best to get enough paintings together for the end of the year, if not early next year, perhaps spring.
Have you got photos taken of the other wine bottles before you sold them?
Yes.
Oh, that's good then. So you could
I
do
never
limited editions as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I never used to have professional photographs taken of my stuff. And then I learned when people started saying, "Oh, is that one for sale?" No, it's not. But and they're like, "Oh, have you got any prints?" No,
Yeah.
because I haven't photographed them, or I have, but I've photographed them on my iPhone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've learnt now that I need to have a proper record of
Yeah,
paintings
definitely.
before I let them go. So yeah, so that's what I'm getting my teeth into next. Really just trying to get some stuff prepared for an exhibition, and it would be my first solo one. Actually, I've done exhibitions before, but I've never actually done a solo one. So can you imagine the fear?
Oh, yes.
I was scared
You'll be
enough last
fine.
time.
You'll have a few wines, won't you?
Well, I don't.
Did
I'll
you
be
tell
the
him I
only
don't like wine? I'll have a beer, please.
I know. I'll be the only one in there drinking beer. No, what I actually said to him is obviously I'm going to have to do a lot of research by way of tasting the wine before I paint it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You do like some wines, don't you?
Oh,
So
yeah,
you'll be all
well,
right.
yeah, occasionally. But do you know what I've realised? I think it is. I think when you drink wine, a lot of it depends on where you are, who you're with, the situation you're in. If you're sitting on a balcony in sunset with Spanish guitar playing behind you and on a holiday or something, you'll think, "Oh, I love that wine. Oh, this is lovely." You drink that at home, it'll taste completely different. You'll go, "This isn't how I remembered it." I've realised that. I think wine is a lot about where you are at the time, as to whether you enjoy it or not. In my case,
I
anyway.
think a lot of things are like that, aren't they?
Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you're right actually, because not to go off topic or anything, but let's talk about taste buds. So, when you were a kid,
Yeah.
I remember loving cream soda. Do
Oh,
you remember
you've
that?
talked about this bloody cream soda before.
Oh, I used to love it. Have I? What, on a podcast?
Yeah.
God, that must have been ancient podcast.
It was an ancient one.
Yeah, well, this is how much it's affected my life. I'm still talking about it. So, a little while back, it sort of came back, didn't it, on the shelves? It was, I don't know whether it was, sometimes they do that, don't I? Always remember seeing dandelion and burdock on the shelves for a while. I was thinking, really? My God, I hated that as a kid. But anyway, it tasted like germaline. Do you remember germaline?
I remember the
deep
smell
peach.
of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what dandelion and burdock tastes like to me. And anyway, so I tasted. I thought I've got to have some of that. I used to love that when I was a kid. I bought some and I had a little sip, and it was like licking a sugar bowl. It was disgusting.
Yeah, it's mega sweet.
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, back to art, I
Back on
suppose.
topic.
One other thing that I wanted to mention. This is long. This
Is
this
it about
gonna
ice
be
cream soda? It's not about that again, is it?
No. So, going back to what's new, and it is going back a bit actually, because again, we've been doing these interviews, so it's taken us a while. This is why we've got lists and lists. I've got a scroll here in front of me. What's new? So, for a while, we have been testing Instagram Reels, haven't we?
Yeah. I can't remember how long we set ourselves. Was it 3 weeks or something we
I
did?
think it was 2 weeks.
All right.
And we set ourselves a little challenge of testing out Instagram Reels. And we'd actually interviewed Angela Earhart. And I have pronounced that right, haven't I?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And she was talking about Instagram Reels, and I was looking at hers. Oh, she does amazing Reels. And so we said, let's challenge ourselves to do some Reels. You were already toying with them already, weren't you? And you were kind of saying, Sandra, you really need to do this.
Yeah.
So we did it for 2 weeks, and what our challenge was to do a reel every day for 2 weeks, and and see what the reaction was. And I'm not sure I'm any the wiser.
No, I know. It's bizarre,
After
isn't
that, I wasn't sure whether they work or not. It was really fun.
Well, just tell people what a reel is first. And what a reel is a portrait. So you basically use your phone or something similar. You shoot in portrait mode, and they can be up to 30 seconds. And supposedly, Instagram were giving them a little bit of preferential treatment because they like video and it was a fairly new feature. So hence why we were testing them out.
It's kind of like the TikTok, but Instagram
Yes.
TikTok, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was really strange because I'd get, maybe one reel would get, 1,500 views, and another one would get 39.
I know.
It was really weird. And it didn't seem to matter whether I did the same time, the same kind of video. It was just really weird. So I just don't know if it works. I don't know.
No.
But I did learn how to do a reel, so there you go.
What I would say about them is I've had similar experience. So I've posted some and you get nearly 2,000 views on it. And then I'll post another one and like you, it'll get 40. And you think, I don't understand why that's happened.
Especially when you've put like 3 hours into making a
Yeah.
30-second reel.
So the only thing I would say is I think it does increase your number of followers. Because I would definitely say doing those increased the amount of people that followed me. Because I think what happens is that people who wouldn't normally see your stuff are seeing it more.
See, I don't know if I think I might have got 9 more followers, but I don't know whether that was through the reels or not.
Well, I did also follow people because I find people through reels as well. You know, I like their work, so I don't know.
Anyway, let's move on to what is new with you.
Well, obviously I was doing the Instagram reels with you.
Yeah.
So, also, I've started a course to try and learn how to sell my art. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. And I'm not saying which course it is at the moment because I want to see, does it actually help me? And what I am finding is I'm struggling on one real thing on there. And I'm hoping I can't get a bit of a breakthrough. Now, if anybody's got an ideas, you're very welcome to give them. And that is, who is my market? Because I think if you sell certain things, you know who your market are. So if you sell pet portraits, pet owners are your market. So you can just go into like forums and magazines that sell pet stuff and, you know, write for them and go into pet forums, pet Facebook groups. And that's where your market. You can start chatting to people in there, can't you?
Yeah.
But when you when you want to sell weird faces, who is your market? It's like, that is my big struggle at the moment, working that one out because I don't know where to.
Portraits are the hardest thing to sell in that way because if you're drawing a portrait, then it is of a specific person.
But mine aren't necessarily of a specific person.
No, but usually it is if you're looking at a general, you know, and so really you've got that one possible buyer. Do you know what I mean? Yours are obviously completely different because they're not like you say, a specific person.
Yeah, I mean they could be. They could be. Yeah,
Mm.
and so I was trying to think, who is my market? And I was trying to think, is it kind of, would these people be like entrepreneurs? Would they be podcasters? Are they a little bit eccentric? You know, kind of entertainer type people? And I haven't worked that out yet. Anyway, so that is work in progress. But definitely interesting. I've rewritten my about page on the basis of doing that. So, and that was quite fun to do, actually. Apart from that, it's been a bit of a crazy couple of weeks, really. We lost our dog, as you know, our 13-year-old lamb, which was really horrible. And so I haven't been making much art because he was ill. And then, crazily, we decided that we were going to get a dog fairly soon afterwards. And this time we wanted a puppy because our other dog was a rescue. And we had a lot of problems with him. So we thought we'd get a puppy. We didn't really expect to get one so soon. But we decided to go and have a look. And now we've ended up with this little mad crocodile that... that basically bites everything. Is incredibly cute, but oh my god, so tiring. So yeah, I haven't made any art for about 2 weeks, I don't think.
It's so funny. It's so funny because you told me when you'd lost Diesel, and I was, I felt heartbroken for you. But then when you said we're looking at puppies, I thought, oh dear. I don't think she realises how much hard work a puppy is.
Well, the reason we got our previous dog, we got him as a rescue, and he was one, was because we didn't want a puppy.
Yeah,
because
they are hard work.
We didn't want to go through that. But because he had like nervous aggression, always brilliant with us, but a lot of problems. And so we thought, we're going to mess our own dog up this time, So, no, hopefully not, obviously. But so we wanted to at least try and give a dog the best start we thought we could. Sort of
Yeah.
thing. So, yeah. But my God, he's so full on. And so, and obviously, we're having to get up in the night because he needs to go out. So it's very tiring. It's probably is like having a baby.
It really, that's the thing. It really is. It's I remember it well, and I remember the first year being almost like having a toddler.
Oh,
It's
don't
like
say yeah.
when you have a baby, you know, basically all they do is sleep and eat and poo.
Yeah.
But it's like having a baby, but this thing can run around straight away. And it has no idea what the rules are, what kills it, what it's allowed to eat. It's just, really hard work.
Yeah.
So it's been actually, from my point of view, it's been really quite amusing.
Thanks.
It's been like, I wonder how Tara is today, and I know how much it's affected you, because I'm doing a lot of things at the moment. I'm like, Tara's not going to have time to do this. I'm going to have to do this.
Yeah,
I already know.
You have been answering emails that I would normally answer and stuff like that, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been having to do a bit more techie stuff and try and understand techie stuff.
What techie stuff, like answering an email?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think perhaps we should get on to the episode now?
Maybe we should. Let's get on to the episode. So today we are talking about the benefits of starting your art journey later in life. And I think a lot of people anywhere past their 30s, do you reckon about that? Think they've left it too late to ever be able to get any good at it at all. But that's really not true. And in fact, it doesn't matter how old you are. Age just doesn't really come into it. It's all about pencil miles and how much time you can put into it. And I think that is the first of many positive things on the list of starting your art journey later in life, because generally you have more time. So for one thing, your kids, if you've got any, have either left home or they're old enough to look after themselves while you work on your art. And trying to paint when you've got young children around, believe me, I've tried. It is doable, but it is really difficult. You can't just leave your art materials around so you can jump in at any moment, and you can't always get enough time to get in the zone before they need something. But when they're older, everything changes. A bit like your puppy, Tara. You can do your own thing. You don't have to worry about them. You can leave your paints out. You
Can't leave my paints out with a puppy, can I?
No, well, you can't with young children either. And you can switch off for as long as you need to. They just do their own thing. It's like, Sherlock, my dog, is now laying in the other room with his legs in the air. You can't hear him.
That's how you'd normally lay, isn't it?
While I'm doing my podcast, you mean?
Yeah.
The other thing about it is when you don't have any children to support financially, you might even be able to afford a bit of outside help. And Tara, I know that you do have someone who does your ironing for you, don't you?
Not anymore. Not at the moment, no.
Oh, really? Oh, because of COVID.
Yeah, we didn't because of COVID, yeah.
Yeah, but usually you do, don't you?
Yeah.
And I've now got a lady who comes over once a fortnight, and she just does 3 hours and she does some cleaning for me. And that has been such a godsend, because I just have to give it a once over now in between, and that gives me more time in the studio. And that's something that comes with age, doesn't it? You can do more things like that. So yeah, time. You definitely have more time.
And I was thinking how you were saying actually about pencil miles, and you become good by pencil miles.
Yeah.
But that is not necessarily the case. So you could be older and you could just start doing something, and it's amazing the sort of stuff that sells. Sometimes there isn't a lot of pencil miles in some of that stuff. So I don't even think you necessarily have to put in a lot of pencil miles when you're older. Sometimes it's just luck and the type of style you do, I think.
Yeah.
And how much marketing-y speak you can put behind it.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, if you're older, you might be retired. Again, that gives you more time, doesn't it? Or I think not always, but you do tend to work less. You may be, like when I was younger, I can remember having to do a lot of overtime. I work at some companies, and I remember even being some of them till midnight, trying to get a graphic design job out. That was rare, but I'd often be there till 7, in one of the jobs. And hopefully that diminishes when you're older, or you decide you just do not want to put those silly hours in anymore. You're not necessarily trying to climb the ladder like you were when you were younger. And like you said, if you're not supporting kids anymore, you might finish paying your mortgage. I know, I love when we finished paying our mortgage. We paid it off a few years ago. And then you've got more expendable income for, buying materials and courses. And theoretically, when you get older, you also might be more patient. Now, I say theoretically because I don't think I am.
Yes, but hang on, let's just mention we're still spring chickens, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah. So
we're only
another 10
half
years.
a century old.
Yeah, a half plus one.
Yeah.
So do you think maybe in another 10 years I'll be more patient?
No.
I
think it's about the person.
but some people may be more patient. Yeah. I think it goes one of two ways. I think that as you get older, you either get more patient, in which case that's you're more patient with your art as well, or you're like, I'm not putting up with that anymore, which probably also gives you more time in that sense, because you're like, I'm not putting up with doing that rubbish. I don't know about you. Are you more patient?
Well, I still work, so no.
You wrote this one.
Yeah. Well, no, but I do think generally you do become more patient when you're older. I'm more patient. Like, say, I do still work, but I don't work for like full-time hours like a lot of other people. I don't work sort of like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, or anything like that. But I am more patient with myself. Do you know what I mean?
To learn things.
I'm like,
yeah,
hang on
that makes sense. Yes, I'm probably like that as well.
Yeah, I think you do get more. You just get more chilled, don't you? And you're like, oh, come on, it's not the end of the world if you don't get this right first time. Does it really matter? No. When you're younger, you're desperate to have everything and get everything right now and be good at everything right now. And when you're older, you realise that that's not it's just not how life is it?
Yeah, and I suppose it depends for what reason you're doing it. If you're younger, it depends also if you're doing it because you're so driven that, you've got to do this and you've got to sell it. But while you're doing it, I think is part of that as well, isn't it? Yeah. Whereas when you're older, you might be doing it because you enjoy it with the hope that it might lead to something.
Yeah, exactly. And you have more life experience. So you've got something to say. I'm not saying that you don't have anything to say when you're when you're young, but when you're in your late teens and your early 20s, art can be fueled, by, I don't know, passion or rage. I mean, basically, you're just one big hormone with shoes on, aren't you?
You were.
What do you mean I still am?
You're like Felicity Fizz, weren't you?
But, as you get older, you're more able to put those emotions into some kind of a context. I think you still remember all of that stuff, but you've developed a bit of perspective and you can see things with more clarity, and you're not just seeing things through a hazy fog of testosterone if you're a man, or estrogen, or I don't know, I'm not a biologist, but you know what I mean, it's just like this haze of hormonal ups and downs, and we tend to mellow as we get older. And we finally think about things more than we act on them. And I think that's a really good thing. That's one thing we definitely do. We have more thought process before we make decisions. We look before we leap. And, we have memories and experiences to look back on. But we're better equipped, I think, emotionally to articulate them into an art form. Do you know what I mean? Was that really deep?
No, not really. But you might have a story to tell as well. Because you've got that life experience behind you, you might have things you want to say through your art, and there might be more meaning to your work. I mean, I know from my part, when I was at college, I wish I knew that I wish I had something to say back then, something to say in the form of fine art, because like when I was at school, as you know, I was painting quite traditionally. I was painting cottages and churches and stuff like that, so I didn't really have anything to say with those. It was just, there's something that's a pretty scene, I'm going to paint it.
Yeah.
And I get to college, and of course they change your views and make you all creative, but I didn't have anything to say through painting. And that only came from, and I don't necessarily think it's just age, but it came down through consistent working, consistent thinking.
Yeah. I'll tell you what else as well. I think you're less easily influenced. Do you agree?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you stand up for yourself more, don't you?
absolutely. People talk about older people being set in their ways. And although, that can be a negative thing in some ways, you're less likely to listen to people who try to tell you what you should be doing. And where art is concerned, that's an actual blessing, I think, because, although it's always a good thing to be open to new ideas and try new things, obviously, but you also want to be true to yourself and allow yourself to develop your own style without being overly influenced by what the current trend is. So, if I'd have listened to everything I was told by my art tutors when I started out, I wouldn't be the painter I am now. I'd have gone much more towards the abstract painting. And to be honest, I think I'd have stopped enjoying what I was doing. There's nothing like painting something that has come solely from you, your way, your style, and better still, be confident about it. And that's another thing that comes with age. You become more confident in your own skin, and you're not so bothered what other people think.
Yeah, and I think that style can develop quicker as you're going back to the amount of time you've got. I think time is very much key for developing that style.
Yeah.
And also, like you say, not being influenced by others, not necessarily having gone to art college, because when you go to art college, there is very much how you say that you're being taught, you're being told what to do. So you might have certain projects you have to do. Those projects might not suit what you like. And while it's good to try these things, it does push you in a certain direction, I think.
Okay, so another thing is that you are more able to say no. And when you start out, you kind of have this thing, don't you, where somebody asks you if you'll do a commission and you're so delighted that anyone would even think about paying for something you do. You kind of say yes because you think you need to and you should. But actually, that is not always the wisest idea because not everything is suited to you. I mean, I remember somebody asking me once to do a commission. It was a church, like a watercolor church they wanted. And, I was not going to do that. I was like, I don't like painting landscapes, never have really enjoyed painting landscapes. I like looking at them. I just don't enjoy painting them. So I knew straight away, no, that's not for me. I'm going to hand that over to an artist I know that would be suited to. And I think that is because I'm older and I just know what I want to do. When you're younger, I say you take something like that on and you'll stress about it the whole time because you'll be thinking, how am I going to do this? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's good in a way because you can learn by stepping out your comfort zone. But I think that's better done in your own time, not by commissions, because somebody's paying for you for that piece, so you'll stress about it. So definitely you're more able to say no to commissions. You know what's right for you and what isn't. Also, you are more able to say no to freebies. And as much as it is lovely to give away art to friends and family, you don't want to get into that thing where, and I know you've had this, Tara, haven't you, with logos and things like that.
Yes.
With when you were doing your graphic design, you'd get people saying, can you just knock me up and knock me up a logo? And it's like, and people, would say to me, I just want a little sketch of this, I don't know, this house or whatever. And it's like, well, and it'd be just one of your 5-minute sketches. It's not that easy. It's not something you can just knock up. And I think when you're not an artist, you do assume that people can just throw something down and it doesn't take any thought, or you just do it, and that's not how it is. And I think as you do get more experienced and older, perhaps you can say, oh, actually, no, I can't do that for free. If you want me to do this, I'm going to have to charge you for it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not about your own mother or your sister or whatever like that, but you've got to, your time is actually your money, isn't it? Because if you're working on something for someone else, you're using time that you could actually be earning money, which is basically what we need to support ourselves, isn't it?
Well, it's almost like asking someone else for their other profession, isn't it? It's like going to your accountant and say, can you just knock up my accounts for free, please?
Or an accountant who is a friend who you don't pay, but they're accountant. So you go, oh, can you just take this home and go through my accounts?
Yeah. It's the
You
same,
wouldn't do
isn't
that,
it?
would you?
No.
I can see, I mean, okay, if I was a hairdresser, I can see that must be a problem for hairdressers as well because they must be constantly getting people saying, "Can you cut my hair?" But you can tie that in with having a cup of coffee with someone, and yeah, I'll trim your hair for you, no problem. But when it's art, I think it's a different thing because you can't. It's not like you can't just do that over a cup of coffee with someone, can you? Do you know
Well,
what I
I
mean?
still think that's sort of wrong. I don't think you should be doing that to the poor old hairdresser as well.
No, 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 I agree. Um, Another thing you have is less fear, isn't it? Things I think worry us less as we get older because we realise the insignificance of the small stuff, such as wasted paper or a bad drawing. And I guess that's because over the years we see some pretty upsetting stuff, don't we? And as teenagers and young adults, we just it just goes over our heads. But after a while, we do start absorbing this stuff, and if we don't see it, we hear about it. So over time, I think those smaller things just seem so trivial. So screw it up, start again if you need to. It's not a disaster.
Yeah, I think it's that less preciousness, isn't it? It's like it is not the end of the world if that drawing doesn't. It might be frustrating,
Yeah.
but it's not the end of the world. You can just start another one. And also, maybe as you get older, you can pay yourself a little less. I mean, there's so much competition when you're younger, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if you're in an art class or something. I remember being quite competitive with that even. You want to do that best drawing or whatever. But now, maybe when you get older, you can just allow yourself to enjoy the process a little bit more without totally being fixed on the outcome.
I think as well, when you're younger, like you say, you're worried about not being as good as someone else. Well, that is life. There's always going to be someone who can't draw as well as us, maybe, and there's always going to be someone who can draw better. It's just a case of how much experience that person's had.
But also that person who doesn't draw as well as you, so you're the better one, they could be doing better than you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't actually think sometimes that it matters your level of skill for some things.
Definitely
I think
not.
it's just how good you are at getting yourself out there. If you want to make a go of it professionally, I mean, how
Yeah.
good you are at getting yourself out there, how good you are at promoting yourself, and not necessarily, it's not all about the art.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're more open to trying new things as well. So, life is shorter, so we start to be more daring and less inhibited. We care less about what other people think of us and the things we do. I'll take my sketchbook, for example. I used to worry, didn't I, that every sketch should be perfect. I mean, what if someone sees it and thinks I can't draw, or if I do it really loosely, they might think I'm no good at what I do. Because perhaps I've done a blind contour drawing for fun and they might look at it and go, "Oh my God, she can't draw," But now I get that is just not the point. I love now letting go in my sketchbook and just having fun with it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. And, I get so much more joy from sketching because of that. If it works, it works. Or if it doesn't, it doesn't. So what? Approach. I'm just not bothered now who sees it, whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly. I mean, because I know what I've done, I know what the point of it was. It doesn't really matter if they get it or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, basically you're a bit more thicker skinned, aren't you?
Yeah.
If someone does say something, it's like, oh well, I think it matters who says it. So you're thicker skinned. If people you have you don't know who they are. What does it matter what they think? Who cares? You become a little bit more confident with yourself, don't you? Comfortable and less bothered by criticism. I think all of us are always bothered by criticism, but it perhaps rolls over you a little bit more because you just think, well, it's just a drawing. You don't like it, that's fine. Do I care? Like when I was younger, I would never have done a podcast. And I would never have made those silly YouTube videos that we made, for this channel. It's like, I would just not have done it because I would have been far too self-conscious for a start, putting stuff like that out. But then you start to realise when you get older that you do things like that and people actually kind of admire it or laugh at it in a good way. and it's the same with art, isn't it? They kind of appreciate that you're trying something. It's not just knocking you down for doing something that's not the best thing ever.
Yeah. I agree. No, I think I would never have done a podcast in a million years earlier. I mean, God, when we spoke about doing this one, I was absolutely terrified. We both were, actually, weren't we? You'd had a lot more experience than I had, but
I'd only interviewed. I'd
yeah.
never done a chatty kind of podcast,
No,
and I thought,
no.
what have I got to say? I've got nothing to say, but clearly we've got plenty to say.
Yeah, you never stop.
I know.
Actually, you're the one that always accuses me of that. So
I know. I'm quite bad as well.
I think as you get older as well, you're more interested, aren't you, in joining groups and making new collections as well. Did I just say collections? I meant connections, obviously. Okay. Aside from having more time to do it, we also have more of the confidence we need to meet and make new friends that we might not have done when we were younger. So some people, as they get older, might perhaps be widowed, and so finding your tribe becomes more important to you. Lots of our people in our Facebook group, actually, they form great connections with other people in the group, and I know that some of them have even met in the flesh, and that's something I think younger people are less likely to do because they just feel more comfortable with the people they're already familiar with. It's scary meeting new people, isn't it? I mean, what if they don't like me, that sort of thing.
I actually really like, and it is like how you say, like when I was younger, thought of, say, going to a meetup and knowing nobody would be like, oh my God. But now the thought of, I've been to some meetups where you just go and have dinner with a bunch of people, and I quite like that.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Now, I'd never have guessed that of you, Tara.
Yeah.
I'd have thought the complete opposite, that you were comfortable with people you know.
No.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I've been to a meetup with just local people, and it was like over 18s women's meetup, and just went and you had dinner with a bunch of strangers.
Oh, not even art related, just literally.
I know, just go and have dinner with a bunch of strangers, and it's actually really interesting because you tend to when you meet the people you know. You get stuck because, like, say, I don't work, so I don't meet new people. I don't know about you. So
no,
you
right.
only know who you know, don't
you?
Unless you start going out to work or going to a social group or club, you don't get to meet different people. And so those people you do get to know, say like old school friends and stuff, you've got the same things to talk about as you've talked for years. Whereas it's quite interesting going to something like that, people you've never met before, and had to have dinner like that. Because I'm fine in small group, I just don't like big groups. And if you sit for dinner, you've got one person sitting next to you and one person across. You're not like trying to address the whole table.
Yeah, I know what you mean. See, now I don't know if I'd do that. I'm not sure.
Really?
Although when I was 20, I think I was about 20.
You went on holiday on your own?
Yeah, I did. I went on holiday. I went to Greece. I think it was Greece. Yeah, it was. It was Rhodes. I went to Rhodes on my own for 2 weeks. And it was quite funny because I was on my own, everyone kept trying to take me under their wing. I was like, I'm absolutely fine. And what I had to learn to do was, the worst part was going down to the restaurant to have dinner, because it's really, we didn't have mobile phones back then. That was not, they weren't around at all. So all you'd have is, you wouldn't have Kindle, you'd have a book. So I used to take a book down with me and just sit and read it until my meal came. And you'd kind of get people just looking as if to say, oh my God, that girl is on her own. She's got nobody. And it's almost like you could see that they feel very sorry for me. But actually, I was absolutely fine. And that was a huge confidence booster for me, because for the first couple of days, I remember laying around the pool and thinking, I'm too scared to do anything else and go outside of the resort. And then one day I thought, no, I can't come on holiday on my own and then go home and say I just laid around the pool. I've got to go and do something. So I just decided I would get a cab to the nearest harbour and walk along and see what's going on. And then I found a boat with an extraordinarily attractive man wearing a wetsuit.
Oh,
Just doing it up, he wasn't it? He was offering scuba diving courses. I was like, oh, that sounds good. There was other people on the boat, obviously. So I asked him how much it was. And so I arranged to go out scuba diving, like on a little... an introductory dive the next day, and that was the first time I ever did scuba diving, and I fell in love with that. But it was I had to learn how to handle myself out there pretty quickly, because imagine a 23-year-old girl on their own, typical Shirley Valentine, where hotel manager sees you on your own and thinks, oh, I'll show her around the town. It was very much like, oh, hang on a minute. So I had to have my wits about me. But it was still something that, as an early age, I think it did me a huge favour, because before then I wouldn't have even walked into a McDonald's on my own to get a McDonald's, let alone go in a restaurant. Now I wouldn't have a problem at all. It just wouldn't bother me.
I do hate that. I would rather go and have dinner with a bunch of strangers who are all meeting up for a meet-up than I would go and sit on my own.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I know when we arranged our meeting, didn't we? Our first meeting in the flesh, I think we'd known each other for about a year. We'd been chatting away and talking on the phone and stuff like that. But we didn't actually arrange it, did we? It was kind of thrown on me.
I knew
Suddenly
about
you
it.
arrived.
Yeah.
It was all it was a big surprise, which was great. And but if that had been an arranged thing, in my early 20s, I'd have been torturing myself, thinking, oh my God, what if she doesn't like me? What if we run out of conversation? And no matter how well it went, I'd still be thinking of everything I said that might have sounded stupid, Whereas when you're older, you don't care about that stuff, because you're like, well, I am who I am, and that's okay. Unless you're a murderer or something, that's definitely not okay. But if you're a generally nice person and you try to be a good person, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know where we've got to.
Have you lost your mind?
Yes, probably.
That's
I
the clue.
know where we've got to. It was going to say that also art is good for our physical and mental health. I'm not quite sure why it's good for our physical health, unless we're throwing ourselves around and jumping at canvases. But you wrote that bit, so there we go.
Can I just explain that bit then?
Yeah, okay.
Well, the reason I think it's good for our physical health is because if it's good for your mental health, then it lowers stress, doesn't it?
So, like blood pressure and stuff like that.
And stress. When you're anxious or a stressed person, it can have an enormous effect on our physical health. So if you can get rid of that part of it, then that's why.
And
anyway.
also, if you do throw yourself at a canvas bit, that does get you moving as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
can you imagine me throwing myself at a canvas?
Yeah, I can actually.
With my tiny paintbrush.
Throwing your marbles on there as well.
Yeah.
And also doing and learning new things, that keeps your mind active as well. It's like people sitting and doing Sudoku, isn't it, on all those number and letter sort of quizzes. And that lowers your stress level as well, especially if you're not precious about the outcome and don't have a bit of a paddy if you do a bad one like I do sometimes.
But we have messages, don't we, from people in our group that have said, it's helped them through their depression, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I definitely do think it works for that. And you do, when you sit down to draw, it does, if you're engrossed in it, you do sort of lose time, don't you? So you're obviously in the moment.
Yeah. If you have a lot of stress going on around you and you're in a stressful environment, or you have a stressful day at work, when you're drawing, going back to quickly scuba diving and drawing are the two things I can do, or painting, where I cannot think of anything else. My mind is solely on what I'm doing, and yes, it wanders, but it wanders in a good way. It doesn't. The stress just goes. It's really strange. Whereas I can read a book, like a novel, and I can still halfway through realise I've just created my shopping list in my head.
Yeah, I can read a book and I get ideas as I'm going through the book. It's a nightmare sometimes.
Oh no, you and your ideas. Uh-oh. Tara's got another idea. Oh no. Yeah. I'll tell you what else it does as well. I think it gives us a sense of purpose. I cannot tell you how sad it makes me feel when I hear an older person say that they feel like they've lost their sense of purpose. I've even heard someone say that they feel like they're a waste of breathing space. And I think that's probably
No.
the most negative statement I think I've ever heard. I could almost feel myself welling up when I heard it. It was awful. Um, I think sometimes that comes with when your kids have left home or your grandchildren have grown up or you've retired and you no longer have a job. So some people just need to feel needed. And I know a lot of people personally who are like that, and they really do need to feel needed. I must say I'm the complete opposite to that. I've never felt the need to be needed before. In fact, the less I'm needed, the more time I can just spend doing what I want to do and paint. When no one else needs me, I need me. I'm free to do what I want to do, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But I think people who have some form of creativity in their lives, are too busy to creating to feel anything other than fulfilled. They fill their time doing something they love to do, and it doesn't matter if they're selling or whether it's just a hobby. I don't mean just a hobby. I think it's important. I think it gives a sense of purpose. It gives you reason to get up early. You can't wait to get out your paints or your clay or your camera or whatever creative thing it is you like to do.
Yeah, and that purpose that you're saying, I think also comes from how you were saying is the social aspect. A
Yeah.
lot of people, when you're older, you might do art in a group, and I know there's things around here where people get together, and well, not at the moment, but they get together and they paint together. So not only have you got the sense of purpose from the actual painting, but you've also got those new friends and that kind of support network as well, haven't you?
Yeah. I honestly think the most important thing anyone should have in their lives is an interest or hobby outside of their family or their friends. Just something they love to do, and I think then you will always have a purpose. And so an art is a great one for that.
Well, shall we move on to our question that we had last time?
Yeah, well, I can't even remember what that was. It's
That
so long
was,
ago.
has a real life situation ever inspired your work? And you're kicking off with those.
Okay, so Gabriella Pop, she says, yes, indeed. Here in Germany, most people were hoarding toilet paper during the lockdowns. This was inspiration for a new mini me.
And they're little tiny pictures of Gabriella that she'd put in different places, wouldn't she? And she'd take photos of them.
I know, they were brilliant.
So cute. And then I've got Sue Watson. She says, I did a short series of collages expressing how I feel about my situation, being my daughter's carer. And they were very unlike her usual work. I found it quite cathartic and have been posting them on the Mobilise Facebook page, which is for carers. And I've been pleased that they seem to speak to others who feel the same way. I didn't do in them caring about the result, just about expressing myself, but I was surprised how strong and powerful some of the images are.
And I've got Val Tomic. I especially began my artist's life a year ago after the murder of George Floyd, during the many protests I was seeing on the TV. I could not participate fully because of COVID, but still wanted to help. I recognised also that resources in the communities impacted most by events would probably be the most impactful. I started making art with social justice themes. I ended up donating the money that was raised to organisations with their roots in communities like Minneapolis, Detroit and Inkster, organisations that would know where that money was needed to have an impact. Here I am a year later, and I can't believe all that's happened and all I've done. I've made over 300 pieces of art.
Wow.
I've had some amazing opportunities, made some great new friends, and I now make and sell art regularly. I even made art that ended up in the hands of, I can't pronounce
Pulitzer?
this.
A Pulitzer?
Pulitzer prize-winning playwright and a Grammy-winning musician. Oh, wow. That is an incredible story.
That is an amazing year.
Yeah, wow.
I've got Rusilla Moodley, and she says, healing my inner child inspired a series of poems and paintings.
And I have Andy W. Art. Real life often seeps into my cartooning. I do sometimes let it appear into my more serious work. I did this one to cheer myself up when I quit a well-paid but horrible and stressful job. I presume he must have actually put a picture of what that was on that comment.
Yes, I apologise. I should have posted it there. I've got Sophie Code, and she says, I started hug sculptures a year ago to send to friends and family that we couldn't see or hug because of the pandemic. They started out as air-dried clay and progressed. Now I have the mould I use to produce them. I send them to ICU teams and nurses, cannot wait to hug again. Now, I'm not with you there, Sophie, because I've actually liked the non-hugging rule.
Yeah, you're not into hugging, are you? And
No,
it just makes me all the more determined whenever I see you to wrap my arms around you and hug you really tight and give you a bear hug. And I'm only really doing it now to annoy you.
Yeah.
You can't wait for us to meet again, can
Can't
you?
wait. Yeah.
Michael Beckett, he says, I am fortunate to live near the Rocky Mountains and nothing puts things into perspective like a road trip through the Rockies. Weekend trips to the zoo are another source of inspiration. I make art to relax and my subjects usually reflect that. I can't do those things often anymore due to health issues, but I'll probably never run out of photos I've taken for references. I do like cartooning sometimes where real life issues will show up as the subject matter, but generally dealing with society ails in my art is just too exhausting for me. Do you know what? He's talking about these cartoons, and a couple of people, 2 or 3 people have referred to cartooning being, almost
An outlet, isn't it?
Yeah, and I suppose I get that with Felicity Fizz sometimes.
Yeah.
Although I
definitely.
don't drink as much as she does, anywhere near the amount that she does. But there are some things I do, and I'm like, nobody actually knows if this is me or not, but I do.
And it's also a way, it's almost like a release, isn't it? It's take that horrible situation and make kind of fun of it almost.
Yeah, definitely. Just want to mention as well, a couple of people have mentioned the pandemic.
Yeah.
Inspiring some of their work. I wonder in years to come whether there'll be, like you get art that is war related.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I wonder if in years to come, like 30, 40, 50 years to come, there'll be an art exhibition solely on art inspired by the COVID pandemic.
Maybe. I tell you what would be really nice is I've seen like films and documentaries about the pandemic, but it always has, the majority of it is depressing, and they'll have like 10 minutes at the end that's like the positive stuff.
Yeah.
Like the clapping for carers and stuff. Now, wouldn't it be nice if they did a documentary of the good things that have come out of the pandemic?
Yeah, because there has been a host of them.
Yeah, I mean, like the woman Val Tomic, who was talking about how she did her art that made such an impact, and how she now makes and sells art regularly. I mean, what a great story! And all those things could be really good, couldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you are right. I think people worry about trying to put a positive spin on something where thousands and thousands of people have died, and it's very hard because obviously you can never forget that. But you have to sometimes. You have to think, okay, what about the other stuff? Because otherwise you'd just be depressed all the time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, just a bit of balance, I think, would be nice.
Definitely.
Right, I've got Rick Fravor, and he says, yes, one time when I was in a very sad and angry mood, I painted this image of a storm out on the ocean with no shore in sight, as if I was on a ship doomed to sink in the midst of a powerful storm. It's now my most treasured piece.
Oh, amazing. I've got Margaret Gray. Years ago, when my kids were little, myself, my sister, and her 3 kids and our hubbies went to Algonquin Park and camped. My little dog was a pup, and one day we went on a hike up a mountain. Bijou ran straight up, so full of energy, and we followed along. Me grumbling about my sister always dragging me up mountains. At the top was this amazing view. Sometime later, I painted it. My little pup died last year at 17. Wow, that's an old age for a dog, isn't it?
That's great, yeah.
Our kids are all grown up, and my sister now lives 6 hours away from me. So I'm really glad I have that painting to remind me of that wonderful day.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I've got Jutta Mueller. I hope I said that right. Of course, I sketch in my visual diary.
And we have a brand new question for you, which is, what is your own personal, most extreme example of procrastination? So what's yours, Tara?
I didn't prepare one. I've just realised you were going to ask me.
What is your own personal, most extreme example of procrastination?
I don't know if it's an extreme example of procrastination, but I have been planning that project that I keep telling you about that I've got the idea for and I still haven't done it. So that keeps getting put back and back and back. I guess
you know what you need?
What? A challenge?
You need a kick in your creatives. You need a kick in the creatives.
I need a puppy sitter. That's what
Yeah,
I need.
you do. You do.
Yeah. No, I keep thinking, oh, maybe I'll start that. And maybe I'll do that for the July portraits. So, yeah, I've got a few other things I want to finish. That's the trouble.
Yeah.
How about you anyway?
I guess I've mentioned this before, when I very first started sketching, and I was scared to spoil the pages
Yeah.
in my first sketchbook. 6
Yeah.
months. It literally
Yeah.
took 6 months to actually spoil my first page, and I did spoil it as well. It was awful. But it took that beginning to get on to now where I love sketching.
It is bizarre, isn't it? How, I mean, some of the reason I'm not doing my project, I'm sure, is because in my head, I built it up to be this great thing,
But when you did your 60-day challenge, Find Your Art Style challenge, if anyone hasn't heard of that, look on YouTube. Type in Find Your Art Style challenge, a 60-day challenge. And you literally set yourself a challenge, didn't you, to video your progress every day of how you solely found your art style.
Yeah.
And what you did to achieve that, which you did achieve that. But I seem to remember you saying exactly the same thing. You procrastinated on that for a while, and you were saying, I'm worried that I've built this up and it won't work.
Yeah, it's not just I guess it's just so much work, isn't it? If you are documenting it, it's so much work. And I'm probably looking back at that one thinking, oh my God, that was so much work. Yeah. Because it's not actually that much work just doing the challenge, but it is when you document it as well.
Yeah, definitely. God, so much went into that, didn't it?
Yeah. So,
it was amazing.
Yeah, I am still thinking about it because I want to do something. This is what I'm thinking. I want to do something where I experiment with different ways of making up abstract faces. Yeah. So it won't just be using my existing style. I want to push from that. So there may be elements of that coming into it, but I want to push away and in different directions and just see what happens, really.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right. As always, you can tweet us your answers at Kick Creatives or let us know in the Facebook group, which if you haven't already joined, I would suggest you do. We'll put the question up there and also on the Facebook page and, of course, on our Instagram, which is Kick in the Creatives.
And we hope that gave you the kick in the creatives that you needed. And don't forget to pop over to our website at kickinthecreatives.com to find out how you can take part in some of our upcoming challenges. And of course, there you can also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we'd be really, really grateful if you would leave us a little review on iTunes or even just a star rating if you don't have much time. And if you do leave a review, we'll read it out as long as it's good. We won't read out any horrible ones.
No. And if you're looking to learn how to use Neocolours, which are wax pastels, we've got a course and you can find that by going to kickinthecreatives.com/neocolours. I think that's about it, apart from, check out our YouTube channel as well. Is that everything?
Yeah, don't forget, if you do enjoy what we do and you'd like to help support us here at Kick in the Creatives, you can now do so by buying us our coffee. And you can find the Ko-fi link on our website. So that's it. We will see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes. Back soon. Okay. I should stop saying that. Every time I go to edit this podcast, the first thing I hear is, okay. Welcome to today's episode, and today we're going to talk about the benefits of starting your art journey later in life. But before we get onto that, we want to say a big...
record.
Oh! Are you joking?
I forgot. You didn't say it either.
Sorry. I suppose because we were doing it on the other thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm never going to be able to top that now.
Sorry.